Alright, so for diving into arrays, I haven't actually created a file. So what I just did, I just opened my terminal and logged into the REPL, and that's where we're going to start creating arrays. So to create an array, it's mostly conventional to create an array as a constant because you're actually not going to reassign the array. You're only going to change the content of the array in memory. It's a bit confusing, but just take it as at face value, okay? So I'm just going to create an array of, I'll call it items or numbers. Let's just call it numbers so it makes sense. Or let's say names. Names actually make sense to me. So we create an array by using the square bracket, and that way we have an array. Okay, so this creates an array, and it's an empty array. So it has other methods and functions involved. We could actually check the length of the array, which is 0. It has a function called push. So push actually adds an element or an item to the very end of the array. So in this case, we have an empty array. So it's basically pushing it to the end. So I'm just going to pass in my name there, and you can see it returned the length of the array, so it becomes 1 now. So if I add another name, names.push, I'll just say Fred, and we get 2. So it's actually returned to us the length of the array. So but if I say names, you see we got the items in the names. And if you notice something, I don't have to actually say console.log over here because I'm in the REPL. Okay, I could just do that, and we get this undefined because this function doesn't actually return anything, so it's just undefined. Alright, so now let's create another array. Let's call it keys, and we could say 1, 2, 3. So now this array, we actually creating it, but now we are passing values to it as well alongside creating it, right? Which is actually going to be the different case for our to-do list, because by default we won't have anything in our to-do list. But let's just say we've created an array like this. So now how do we access the elements in the array? Like I said in the last lecture, arrays are index based, or no, before the last lecture, arrays are index based and the index starts at 0. So we could say keys, and we open our square bracket. To access the element, the first element, instead of saying 1, we say 0. So just bear that in mind. It's a weird something, but just bear that in mind. And when I print that, we say we get 1. If you were thinking to put 1 as the index, you're going to get the second element in the array. So the index starts from 0, 1, 2. So the maximum index in this array is 2. I hope that doesn't confuse you. Just know that we start counting in let's just say programming in general. We start counting from 0. So we count from 0 to 9, which is actually base 10. So it's literally that's just, sorry, base 10 is from 1 to 10. Sorry, from 1 to 9. But that's just how it is, because computer are zeros and ones. So it's just some weird stuff. So just take it as it is. The index starts from 0. So we have other methods to array, like we have shift. So shift will actually uh, remove the first element in the array and return it to you. So you see we got 1. If I print keys, we see we have 2. Now we have on shift, which is actually weird that they call on shift the ability to add to the front of the array, and shift is actually to remove from the front of the array. So I'm just going to add 1 back, and if I see keys, we see 1 there. So now we have pop. Pop is removing it from the end of the array, so that should remove 3. And if we print out keys, we see we have 3. All right, so we've seen push, we've seen pop, and those are the functions of arrays that we should focus on for now. So in the next lecture, we're going to be looking at loops, and once we're done with loops, we look at functions, and we get back to building our to-do list application. See you in the next one.